Centuries ago, St. Jerome said that ignorance of the Scriptures is ignorance of Christ. This is why the Church strongly encourages us to read, to pray, to study, and to reflect on the Scriptures, because it's there that we encounter the person of the living Christ. Questions often swirl around the idea of, well, what's God like? Well, we're asked to look at Jesus because Jesus models for us what God is like. At the same time, he also models for us what a mature human being looks like. But please notice, we are not just given one canonical gospel. We're given four. 4 different portraits, 4 different perspectives of this person called Yeshua, Jesus the Christ. Today's gospel gives us a wonderful insight or snapshot of 3 qualities of what Jesus is like, therefore what God is like, therefore a mature human being is like. So let's go through them. First one. Notice that Jesus is approachable. Jesus is approachable. This woman is seriously ill. For 12 years, she's suffering from this flow of blood, which separates her not only from family and community, because it's considered being ritually unclean, but also from the delight of celebrating the gift of her body. Her body's become a burden for her. It's causing her this shame, this feeling of guilt. What have I done wrong? Why is God punishing me? All these things must have been going through her mind, so that now she's separated. But she so deeply yearns to be reconnected, to be made whole, that she's willing to break cultural taboos. And so she secretly comes up behind Jesus and she touches him publicly, touches his clothes. Jesus said that he felt power, we might call it energy, go out from him. So he noticed that something had gone on. Now picture yourself when you're in a crowd and somebody bumps into you, do you always know who it is? Not necessarily. Jesus didn't know who it was. And yet he pursues the issue. He doesn't want to let it go. This woman could have left. She could have denied it took place. But she comes forward because at some level she probably sensed this man is approachable. And so she tells him everything. Notice what he says. He does not in any way publicly shame her. He doesn't in any way say, do you realize you've now made me ritually unclean? Do you realize you've broken a religious law, a cultural law? None of that. He focuses on the positive that's happened. He says it's your faith that saved you. Yes, Jesus was approachable. And that's why those around him were drawn to him. They were drawn to him because of his personality, of his way of just being human. Secondly, he's hospitable. First off, he's approached by the synagogue official. He says, listen, my daughter's dying. Can you do this for me? Jesus says, sure. So he starts leading the synagogue official. And notice he's interrupted by this interaction with the woman. But he doesn't say, I don't have time for you. He's present to both. The needs of both of these people who are dealing with life issues today is what we call them. That presence, the word we use today is a hospitality of the heart. And in that regard, as he's finished working with this woman, he turns back to the synagogue official and says, okay, let's go. By then, servants have arrived with the message that we heard. But notice he doesn't say, oh, I'm sorry. I was busy here. No, he says, come on, let's go. He ignores the news to be present to the man in his sorrow and suffering that his daughter is dying. And so they go to the house. We get to the house, and in their culture, the weeping and the mourning and the gnashing of teeth is already starting. In fact, you probably know that they often hire people to publicly mourn as a sign of how deeply they miss the deceased. And what Jesus does in caring for this man and his wife, he tells everyone else to get out of the house, to give them some peace and quiet, to be alone with him, and only 3 of the apostles. And it's there that we see this wonderful healing taking place. He doesn't do any magic. He just takes her hand and says, come on, get up. Just like he said that she was sleeping. It's a euphemism, obviously. But he wakes her from the sleep of death as if she's waking up like she has for 12 years, in a very hospitable, gentle way. The parents aren't frightened, so they can see and know their daughter is fine. He did not tell them to get out of the room. He didn't do this himself. He said, come on in, you're welcome. This is your daughter's life. Hospitality of the heart. That's what our God is like. That's what the person of Jesus is like. That's what a mature human being is like. The last one, besides approachability and hospitality, is that Jesus is the one who is vulnerable. He took upon himself our humanity to show us what God is like. That God is vulnerable. Now here's the hidden little gem of the story. Jesus said, I felt power go out of me. The word in Greek, it's the only place in the New Testament where this word is used. That word for power is not dynamis, where we get dynamite. A different type of power. It's a word that means the power of vulnerability. Vulnerability. In other words, Jesus brought healing to this woman because his humanity met her humanity in her need. That's what God is like. When God and human beings meet in the present need, there's an explosion of the experience of new life. In this situation, healing. Second situation, rising from death. Some people, it's a deep feeling that, wow, I'm forgiven. Or a sense of seeing one's life differently, or experiencing God's love in a different way. That's the power of vulnerability. Our God is a vulnerable God, a compassionate God that meets us always and everywhere in the different needs of our life. For whatever reason, God chooses to be around us in a disguised form. It's our job to look for God, hidden in the many different cracks and crevices of our life, in all of our relationships, yes, in our times of worship and prayer, but even more so when we're traveling to and from work, when we're asking how are we going to pay the bills, how's this going to work out. All the things, God is truly present because God is approachable, hospitable, and vulnerable.